Hello and welcome to Stories of Science. Here, we look back on humanity's long journey to understand the world. The questions, the failures, and the breakthroughs that slowly changed how we see the universe and ourselves. We tell science as stories.
How Rutherford's discovery of the proton changed the world, from atomic theory to modern technology.
Did you know that atoms were once a total mystery, like a sealed black box, until the son of a New Zealand farmer used nothing more than a pencil and some gold foil to crack it open? This scientific giant didn't just discover the atom's nucleus, he revealed its deepest secrets. Today, let's dive into the world of Ernest Rutherford and see how this legendary figure changed our understanding of the universe through science. From humble beginnings as a poor farmer's son in New Zealand to becoming one of the leading figures in global physics, Rutherford's life is nothing short of legendary. Can you imagine that a scientist's groundbreaking achievements came from the same fields he ran through as a child?
It sounds like something straight out of a movie, but Rutherford's story is far more incredible than any film could portray. Believe it or not, he wasn't exactly a star student in his youth.
He didn't come from a prestigious family, nor did he show any remarkable academic talent early on.
What set him apart wasn't a list of academic accolades, but a relentless passion for science and an insatiable curiosity.
Rutherford wasn't the standout genius you might expect.
In fact, he was pretty ordinary at school, just like many students who never really shined until one day, he would. Rutherford's family lived in a small village in New Zealand. His parents weren't rich, but they always encouraged him to explore the world. His father was a farmer, and his mother was a teacher at a church school. Although they weren't wealthy, his parents valued education, and they made sure Rutherford had access to books, especially those on the natural sciences. It's hard to imagine, but young Rutherford didn't always focus on studying physics. He also played with mud and ran around like any other child. But don't forget, he wasn't just playing with mud, he was playing with the very building blocks of the universe. You might think Rutherford was a natural-born prodigy, but that wasn't the case. He didn't display any early signs of genius. His academic performance was pretty average, even unremarkable. Some even thought he was just another mediocre student. But Rutherford didn't let that stop him. For him, the allure of physics was far greater than any grade on a report card. While he didn't stand out like some of the so-called born geniuses, it was this very ordinariness that would shape his extraordinary future.
It wasn't until he reached Cambridge University that his true talent began to shine.
At the Cavendish Laboratory, he met his most important mentor J.J.
Thomson, the man who discovered the electron. Thomson saw potential in Rutherford, and it was under his guidance that Rutherford's world opened up. He was introduced to atomic structure and the field of radioactivity.
Imagine this, just a regular student suddenly thrust into the cutting edge of physics, standing alongside some of the brightest minds in the field.
It's like a classic underdog rises to the top story. But life at Cambridge wasn't easy.
Rutherford struggled at first.
He almost gave up due to the lack of resources in the laboratory.
He often had to work on experiments outside of regular hours, tinkering alone with equipment, figuring things out on his own.
Despite these challenges, he was driven by the belief that the mysteries of science were right there in front of him, waiting to be uncovered. And that perseverance paid off.
With each challenge, he made breakthroughs that would change the course of science forever.
You might be wondering, why was Rutherford so fascinated by atoms? Well, it was all about his personality.
Rutherford had an insatiable curiosity, a relentless drive to explore the unknown. At the time, the understanding of atoms and radioactive materials was extremely vague.
Many scientific questions remained unanswered.
Rutherford saw these gaps as an opportunity, and he dove straight into the mystery, determined to find answers. And he did just that. His theories not only shattered old ideas about the atom but also pushed the entire field of physics forward.
Rutherford's journey to winning the Nobel Prize didn't happen overnight.
Through countless experiments and relentless perseverance, he gradually built up his expertise. He wasn't just the guy who discovered the nucleus of the atom, he also classified types of radioactive materials. All of this stemmed from his childhood interest in natural science and his lifelong quest for truth. His early academic struggles serve as a powerful reminder: science is not a race. It's a long and winding journey of exploration. At the heart of Rutherford's story is the image of a tenacious scientist. Despite coming from modest beginnings, despite the setbacks and struggles, he always believed that the answer to the atom's mystery lay hidden in the smallest particles. It was this persistence that ultimately made him one of the greatest figures in the history of science. So, the next time you think of Rutherford, remember that he wasn't always the standout student. He was once just a curious boy in a small village who grew up to change the very fabric of physics. From running through the fields as a child to stepping into the world's leading laboratories, Rutherford's scientific journey was anything but smooth. You might assume that this great physicist was a born genius, right? But actually, Rutherford wasn't one of those students who aced every test from the start. In fact, he began much like many other average students. So how did he go from being a regular student to a leader in the study of radioactivity? Well, his story wasn't filled with immediate success, rather, it was a quiet rise, an underdog story. Rutherford's scientific career really took off at Cambridge University. You might be surprised to learn that when he first entered Cambridge, he didn't immediately stand out. In fact, his grades were average at best. No one thought he would go on to become a legend in physics. Much like the students we all know who do well in school but never really stand out, Rutherford was one of them. No flashy start, no prominent background, his quiet beginning led to his great achievements. But it was this very ordinariness that led him into the prestigious Cavendish Laboratory at Cambridge, where so many future Nobel laureates would be trained. Here, he met his most important mentor, J.J. Thomson. Thomson was a brilliant physicist who discovered the electron, and he soon became Rutherford's collaborator. Imagine this, an average student being recognized by one of the greatest scientific minds of the time. It was Rutherford's opportunity, and finally, his experimental talent was being noticed. At first, Rutherford didn't have a moment of glory in the lab, but his deep desire to explore the unknown helped him fit into the lab's environment quickly. It was this unyielding drive that helped him make a breakthrough in his research on radioactivity. Imagine him standing in the lab, holding a test tube, nervously excited, thinking, what exactly are these mysterious rays? From that moment on, Rutherford's obsession with radioactive materials never stopped. His breakthrough in studying radioactive decay made waves in the scientific community. At the time, the understanding of radioactive materials was like a light flickering in the fog. Scientists knew that they emitted rays, but the deeper secrets of these rays remained a mystery. Rutherford began working with alpha, beta, and gamma rays, and his revolutionary classification system changed everything. He didn't just categorize these rays, he dove deep into their nature, revealing their differences and their roles in radioactive decay. It was like clearing the fog, and suddenly these mysterious rays became the key to unlocking the secrets of the atomic world. As Rutherford continued his research on radioactivity, his groundbreaking discoveries kept coming. One of his major contributions was revealing the structure of the atom's nucleus. Before him, the prevailing idea was that atoms were just hollow balls with no internal structure. Imagine the physicists of the time staring at a blank canvas, unsure of where to begin. But Rutherford's seemingly simple experiment with alpha particles hitting gold foil completely overturned this idea. He discovered that most alpha particles passed through the foil, but some bounced back. This phenomenon made him realize that atoms weren't hollow like people thought. Instead, they had a very small, dense core, what we now call the nucleus. This discovery not only changed the way we understood atomic structure, but it also cemented Rutherford's place in nuclear physics history. But Rutherford's contributions didn't stop there. He wasn't just a lab technician, he was an innovator who broke conventions. At the time, many physicists thought that the atom's nucleus was untouchable and that the electrons surrounding it were off limits. But Rutherford wasn't satisfied with that. He took his research into the depths of the atom, opening up a new world for future scientists to explore. His work on the transmission of alpha, beta, and gamma rays through materials made his reputation soar in the global physics community. Through studying these rays, he connected them to the atomic nucleus, laying the theoretical groundwork for the development of nuclear energy and the utilization of atomic power. Rutherford's groundbreaking achievements brought him worldwide attention in the scientific community. When he made these discoveries, Many in the world of physics were amazed by his experimental spirit and innovative mind. He didn't just make huge strides in the lab, he worked closely with other famous physicists, pushing forward the scientific understanding of radioactivity and the structure of atoms. Can you imagine this? From a kid playing with mud in the fields to a giant in the world of physics, Rutherford's story is nothing short of a comeback in the world of science. His life was filled with challenges, persistence, thinking, and discovery. At the Cavendish Laboratory in Cambridge, he used his intelligence and endless curiosity to begin a deep exploration of the atomic world. It was these tireless efforts that made Rutherford one of the founding fathers of atomic physics. Today, almost everything we understand about nuclear physics traces back to those early experiments he conducted. Rutherford didn't just change the face of physics, he also set an example for future scientists with his courage and pioneering spirit. His journey wasn't a straight path to success, but it was this steadfast dedication and breakthrough thinking that allow us to stand on his shoulders and continue exploring the deeper secrets of science. Gold foil, alpha particles, deflection angles, who would have thought these things would combine to forever change the way we understood atoms? Does it sound like a flash of genius inspiration from a physicist? Well, yes and no. All of it came from Rutherford's gold foil experiment, which literally transformed the atomic model from a hollow ball into one with a tiny core at the center. You could say Rutherford was a magician of the atomic world, and his gold foil experiment was the one that made the magic happen. Imagine, there are dozens of scientists in heated discussions about the structure of atoms when suddenly, Rutherford stands up with the look of "I know you're wrong" on his face, saying, "Your model of the atom is completely wrong." It's like telling people, your iPhone is actually a giant speaker, and then passionately explaining why the screen should be used to listen to music. Can you picture that moment? Everyone's eyes would widen in disbelief as they start questioning what they had previously thought was common knowledge. That was Rutherford's style. He didn't just make waves in the lab, he shook the very foundations of physics. Let's rewind and take a closer look at the gold foil experiment. Rutherford's task seemed simple: shoot some alpha particles at a thin sheet of gold foil. You might think, oh, that sounds like a standard experiment. But wait, it was far from that simple. The alpha particles he used were helium nuclei, tiny, positively charged particles that could zip through matter at high speeds. They had the power to reveal the atom's secrets. Rutherford aimed these alpha particles at the gold foil, trying to analyze the angle of deflection to understand the structure of the atom. At the time, scientists believed that atoms were hollow spheres with evenly distributed positive charge. So, logically, most of the alpha particles should pass straight through the foil without any trouble. Sure enough, most of the particles did pass right through. But some, surprisingly, deflected at odd angles, and some even bounced right back. Can you imagine Rutherford standing there, looking at the results and thinking, this doesn't add up. The atom should be empty. How could it possibly reflect my alpha particles? That single moment, the deflection of particles, gave Rutherford a key clue. He realized that if some alpha particles were bouncing back, they must have collided with something small, dense, and positively charged. That something was what he later discovered: the atomic nucleus. The atom wasn't empty after all. Its core contained a tiny, positively charged region surrounded by electrons. This discovery completely shattered the earlier hollow atom theory, sending shockwaves through the scientific world. Rutherford's gold foil experiment, though it seemed simple, was revolutionary. With it, he overturned Thomson's raisin pudding model, setting the stage for a radical change in how we viewed the atom. His model suggested that atoms weren't hollow, they had a tiny, dense core, the nucleus, around which electrons orbited, much like planets around the sun. And that's what he called the planetary model of the atom. This was a game changer for the entire physics community. Instead of thinking of atoms like balloons, getting larger as they were inflated, Rutherford suggested, no, the atom is like the solar system. The nucleus is the sun, and the electrons are the planets. This new model immediately caused a stir in the physics community. Imagine how stunned scientists must have been when they heard this revelation. What? The atom has a sun in the center? That empty space we thought was there is actually full of energy. What's even more fascinating is that Rutherford's discovery laid the groundwork for future developments in atomic theory. For instance, Niels Bohr would later build on Rutherford's model to develop his own atomic model, introducing the concept of quantized energy levels and explaining the movement of electrons in a more precise way. Rutherford's atomic model didn't just revolutionize the understanding of atomic structure, it laid the foundation for nuclear physics and quantum mechanics. At the time, the atomic nucleus was considered a separate, almost isolated field. Rutherford's experiments opened the door for the development of that field. In the not-so-distant future, Rutherford's model of the atomic nucleus would become the basis for nuclear energy, nuclear weapons, and even particle accelerators. Yes, Rutherford was not just a pioneer of physics, he was also the father of nuclear physics. For Rutherford, these discoveries were no accident, they were the result of his firm belief in science and his unquenchable curiosity. Many people didn't fully understand the experiments and reasoning he was doing at the time, but he was boldly forging ahead, standing at the forefront of physics. From that moment, Rutherford became the shaper of the atomic model, and his gold foil experiment became one of the most groundbreaking experiments in the history of physics. So, the next time you hear the word atom, think about Rutherford watching his alpha particles bounce off the gold foil. At that moment, the veil of science was lifted, and a whole new world of understanding opened up before our eyes. How did he discover the proton? Not by chance, it was through the collision of nitrogen gas and alpha particles that he uncovered even deeper physical secrets. With this discovery, he not only explained the structure of the atomic nucleus but also revealed the core of the particle world. Imagine standing in a lab, tools in hand, surrounded by thousands of pieces of data, but you don't rush to make conclusions. Instead, you stare at the data, slowly identifying a seemingly small but incredibly important clue. That's how Rutherford, through his experiment with nitrogen and alpha particles, discovered the proton and changed our understanding of the atomic nucleus. The proton, this tiny little guy, was like a hidden gem in the history of science. It was like a scientific bombshell, sparking a deeper understanding of the atomic nucleus. Imagine Rutherford unlocking the mystery box of the atomic nucleus and revealing the tiny particles inside. What's even more important is that this discovery didn't just cause a stir in the scientific community, it also laid the foundation for later particle physics research. So, how did Rutherford discover this mysterious little guy? Well, it all started with his deep study of alpha particles. As you already know, alpha particles are part of the helium atom's nucleus. These particles, with their strong positive charge, collide with other materials as they pass through. Rutherford, ever curious about the atomic nucleus, continued to perform more refined experiments. This time, his target wasn't gold foil, it was nitrogen gas. When alpha particles collided with nitrogen, Rutherford discovered a new type of particle. Can you imagine that? He found that when nitrogen gas and alpha particles collided, they released a positively charged new particle. Rutherford called this particle the proton. What is a proton? Simply put, it's a part of the atomic nucleus, carrying a positive charge. Even more astonishing, the proton turned out to be a crucial part of the atomic nucleus. Its discovery gave scientists a clearer understanding of the nucleus's composition, particularly helping them realize that the nucleus wasn't just made up of neutrons and electrons, it also contained this tiny but vital proton. The proton, this tiny particle, played a crucial role in the atomic nucleus. Without it, the nucleus simply couldn't exist. And with this discovery, Rutherford was literally solving the puzzle of the atomic nucleus. By colliding alpha particles with nitrogen gas, he discovered this new member and added it to the atomic nucleus's family. We all know that the atomic nucleus consists of electrons, neutrons, and protons. And the proton is the big brother of this family. It carries the positive charge, keeping the whole nucleus stable. The discovery of the proton wasn't just a successful experiment, it was a massive breakthrough in the atomic model. Previously, scientists believed the atomic nucleus was made up only of neutrons and electrons, and the concept of the proton was still unclear. Rutherford's experiment shattered this traditional view, introducing the proton as a key component of the nucleus. This discovery opened the door for later scientists to explore new ideas and laid the foundation for the development of nuclear physics. Rutherford's discovery of the proton didn't just change our understanding of atomic structure, it laid the theoretical groundwork for nuclear energy research and its applications. The role of protons in nuclear reactions is absolutely crucial. In nuclear reactors, protons participate in the fission process, releasing vast amounts of energy. This principle isn't just used to generate electricity, it's also central to the development of nuclear weapons. Rutherford's discovery of the proton not only reshaped our view of the atomic nucleus, but it also played a pivotal role in driving modern technological advances. But the impact of the proton didn't stop there. Over time, it provided the foundation for the development of particle physics. You may have heard of particle accelerators, the machines that speed up particles to nearly the speed of light before crashing them into each other to study their interactions. Well, the discovery of the proton was the spark that led to the creation of these accelerators. In these machines, scientists accelerate protons and use a variety of experiments to observe their behavior under extreme conditions. These studies not only deepen our understanding of the particle world but also advance quantum mechanics and relativity. Let's talk about modern technology for a second. Research into protons has permeated every corner of our lives, from medicine to energy, from communications to defense. Think about it, every time you use your phone, your computer, or even get on an airplane, your devices are, in one way or another, relying on the fruits of proton research. Protons not only helped us understand the essence of the atom, but they've also led to countless advancements in technology. Thanks to proton research, breakthroughs have been made in fields like quantum computing and quantum communications, and we're even starting to predict entirely new theories of physics. Rutherford's discovery of the proton is a game-changer, not just for understanding the atomic world, but for setting the stage for future scientific breakthroughs. You could say that without Rutherford's work, there wouldn't be particle physics, nuclear research, or even much of the advanced technology we take for granted today. The discovery of the proton revealed the inner structure of the atomic nucleus and unlocked the door to the science that shapes our modern world. And Rutherford? He was the key that opened that door. You see, Rutherford wasn't just a physicist stuck in a lab, he was a true explorer, a scientific giant who pushed the boundaries of knowledge. From the structure of the atomic nucleus to his discovery of the proton, every step he took propelled science forward. Today, as we stand at the cutting edge of technology, we can't help but look back at Rutherford's legacy and realize how crucial his seemingly small discoveries were. After all, these little particles are what make up the framework of the entire universe. Rutherford's research didn't stop in the lab, it continues to influence fields like quantum computing, nuclear energy, and beyond. The next time you open your phone, you might not realize it, but the theory behind Stephen Hawking's waves is probably running in the background, all thanks to Rutherford's foundational work. Think about it, your everyday high-tech devices, your phone, TV, microwave, are all quietly operating on the physics principles that Rutherford laid down. In fact, even when you heat up your food in a microwave, you might just have Rutherford's nuclear energy theory quietly working behind the scenes. Ever get that feeling that science is everywhere in our lives? Well, that's because it truly is. Rutherford's contributions go far beyond just keeping our dinners warm. His impact on fields like quantum physics, nuclear energy, and even quantum computing can't be overstated. Without his atomic model, there'd be no quantum computers, no nuclear power stations, and no nuclear medicine. And without his theory about the proton, our understanding of particle physics might still be stuck in its infancy. So, whether you're using high-tech gadgets, meeting energy demands, or even running quantum computing code, Rutherford's brilliance is still quietly influencing every corner of your life. Not only did Rutherford lay the groundwork for future scientific discoveries, but he also inspired countless other scientists. He trained a generation of students, including some who went on to become giants in their own right, such as Chadwick, Bethe, and Giles. Rutherford's teaching style wasn't just rigorous, it was filled with humor, offering future scholars valuable lessons in how to blend science with charisma. His meticulous approach to research and his charming personality became a source of inspiration for generations of physicists. In fact, we still see Rutherford's academic legacy alive today. The development of quantum computing, particle accelerators, and even nuclear medicine, these fields all carry his influence. Many of the advancements in modern science are built on the foundation Rutherford created. When we talk about Rutherford's impact on modern technology, it's not just about the discoveries he made for himself. The discovery of atomic energy, the development of nuclear power, and even the medical use of radiation all trace back to his early work on atomic structure. His research helped humanity understand the makeup of the atom, and that understanding led to the development of nuclear energy and its revolutionary impact in the 20th century. From the television in your living room to the phone in your pocket, the energy flowing through nuclear power stations, it all links back to Rutherford's discoveries. Isn't it amazing to think that we're constantly enjoying his scientific achievements every single day? And let's not forget, Rutherford even won a Nobel Prize. It's not just a random award, it's a recognition of a truly groundbreaking contribution. But Rutherford wasn't just a brilliant scientist, he was also a man of wit and charm, known for his sense of humor in the academic world. Imagine that, the same Rutherford who was all business in the lab also enjoyed cracking jokes with his colleagues. For a scientist who was both serious and funny, who wouldn't admire him? Back to his teaching and research style, Rutherford was a thorough and serious scholar, but he wasn't a dull, silent type. His sense of humor was legendary in the scientific community. He had a knack for explaining complex physics concepts in ways that were both clear and engaging. For example, when students would look confused, he'd smile and say, "Science isn't about perfection, it's about reflecting after you mess up." That humor wasn't just charming, it made Rutherford's work and his teachings memorable. It was that balance between seriousness and wit that earned him the respect of his peers and taught future scientists how to make science not just about facts, but also about passion. As for his impact on the world today, Rutherford's name still resonates in the scientific community. The technological advancements we enjoy today wouldn't be possible without the research he laid down in his time. From nuclear power to quantum computing, Rutherford's theories formed the bedrock of today's scientific world. He wasn't just a giant in the world of physics, he was the cornerstone of global technological progress. His legacy, much like that of a great architect, built the foundation of our modern scientific world, solid and far-reaching. So, the next time you pick up your phone, start up your microwave, or walk past any high-tech gadget, take a moment to think, this piece of technology is running on Rutherford's physics principles. You might not realize it, but his life and work have already had a deep and lasting impact on nearly every aspect of the world we live in. He wasn't just a prophet of science, he was the legend of physics.
The people who change the world usually just think one step deeper. If this story made you see things differently, hit like, subscribe, and save it. See you in the next story.